Ladies and gentlemen, I really got to tell you, I think the support people are heroes. I think they're heroes because even when I just go to a family event and a family member says, "Hey, I got a computer question for you." I don't know about you, but that makes me nervous. All the expectations and so forth and so on. And support is really just really smart people that ask difficult questions of a really, really smart people. And I was talking to a friend of mine who explained a situation about a support team that he leads, and these guys need a little bit help because when you look at what support is like at a high level with real top-notch experts, there's a lot of detective work that goes on. So the way he described the situation, you have a support engineer who already has a couple of cases on their desk. And then another case comes in with a customer who has a critical issue who expects to see some kind of results to talk to somebody within the next 48 hours or so. But it's going to take a few days to be able to do the kind of research that's necessary. And all of that information is really hidden in a lot of documents, not just the internal systems, but potentially documents from the customer's history, some of the documentation for various products, and then depending on what sort of integration situations you have, that may create additional complexity. So ultimately, from like a casual conversation with my friend, what he was really looking to do was to reduce the time that it takes for a support engineer to gather all the necessary information so that they could cut their case resolution time. At a bare minimum, cut the time that it takes to get on the phone for with the customer for that first call. Um, and that can be kind of challenging, right? Based on the time and effort that it takes to be able to prepare for that. And also to be able to improve that resolution for the number of calls that they can close out in their very first meeting. So ultimately, this is about a number of different things. Now, he also talked about how the team was shrinking and how he was bringing in new people. So now, how do you help the new folks to become as productive as his experienced team? So these are all the kinds of challenges that he was dealing with. And I said to myself, I wonder if I can help my friend. So we have a tool here that basically helps to pull together research for support engineers. But there's a number of different people this helps. It's not just the support engineers, right? When you think about how that impacts the organization, it's the customers, right? Customer satisfaction. It comes down to how many cases can the support organization handle? What kinds of cases can a support organization handle? Are they complex cases? Are they simple cases? How quickly can we close them out? And are we handling things for our customers or are we handling things for our internal situations? Could be a combination of the two. But there's quite a few people that are faced with that challenge that need to figure out what to do about it. Now, in this case, what we built was a situation where a support engineer can really go to a web UI, something relatively simple, and it'll talk to a fast API application that'll essentially look at documentation, trunk that documentation, and make it available so that in our RAG application, the support engineer can basically either ask it a question or they can basically just pull information from the support ticket, right? And it'll use that to generate recommendations for where do we go from here? There's also an agent, and the agent essentially is focused on integration and architecture recommendations because certainly along the way, customers ask those type of questions, what recommendations do you have for me for how I should approach this? And using basically Tavily Web Search, the agent will reach out and talk to a lot of the online product documentation, user forums. It essentially has a store of a list of different sources that it'll use, really so it can hone in on some of the best practices, architecture, and so forth. So let's take a look at a demo. So here we are. We have our support detective. And with our support detective, we have a number of different cases. And these cases, they're ranked differently. The red ones are critical and some are less critical. And if we jump in and we take a look at a case, we can see we've got a bunch of different details. So, there's an issue here with WebSphere. And in this case, this particular case was already filled out. So if we jump in and we look at the details, we can see that in the case description, customers were having issue based on an upgrade, and that was affecting internal systems. And our AI research recommendations really kind of come about and give some recommendations for where you might be having these issues. And it also gives you things like some recommended questions. Hey, if you want to discover a little bit more about what's going on, here's some things you can ask. And based on the information that it's picked up from RAG and web search if necessary, it'll recommend some documentation, whether that's something you want to give to the customer, something you want to use for yourself. It'll talk about risk assessment and some proposed next steps. Great. And let's go find a case that hasn't been done. And let's have some fun, and let's push the buttons. So if I go to this particular case, did we do this case? No, we did not. Let's go view our details. And just one button push, and off it goes. And it's simple, and it's supposed to be, because after all, you're going to work really hard to do a lot of that research. Why don't we let the technology do it for us? So, the other thing that we have here is our architecture specialist. And we're going to go ahead and let this cook. Hey, look at that. So we can see an analysis of the issue. We can see why there may be some timeouts. We can see some potential issues, file size and transfer protocols, network latency, some discovery questions. What version are you using? How large are the medical imaging files? Right? Things that, even if these aren't questions that you ask, they may help you to think, or they may be a good starting point. They may even help the account team go and ask some of these questions and gather some information in advance. So it helps to make the process a lot more efficient. So that's what our tool does. Now, what are we going to do next? Well, there's a couple of things that I was thinking of. I was thinking of doing things like speeding up, speeding up our retrieval, basically by doing some caching, possibly by doing conditional re-ranking. Right now, we're doing re-ranking all the time, but maybe we do, maybe we don't. Really just depends. Maybe we want to do a little bit of async retrieval, right? Because now I'm using ensemble retrieval. Go get me the semantic stuff and then search within that. But maybe we can do those things async. Maybe, I don't know. And certainly right now we're focused on IBM products because the gentleman I talked to is at IBM. But we certainly don't have to stop there, right? I just know that IBM has a lot of documentation, red books and red papers, all kinds of wonderful things. But there's a lot of IBM partners that integrate with a lot of other tools. So, that would be great. And also building out enterprise integrations so you can talk directly to all kinds of support systems and easy access to cases. And then, of course, the various things around production readiness, making sure that it's secure, making sure that it's scalable, right? So that's pretty much what we were thinking of for being able to help out our support heroes. Thank you very much for taking the time to listen, and I am open for questions.